This is the Sports Source, presented by Junk Be Gone and Renewal by Anderson. Now, your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source. We have a packed show for you today. We got Vols football, Vols basketball, Lady Vols basketball. We got it to cover, and let's just get into it. First segment of our show, we got a jam-packed, so let's just hurry into this. First segment of our show, brought to you by Junk Be Gone. And folks, junk removal, they do it. From everyday type of trash to big items that you need demolished and removed. They have teams that do that. Dumpsters for rent at low prices, they do that. Paper shredding, they do that as well. Check out this locally owned, family owned business online at junkbegone.biz. I've told you about them before because I've used them before, yearly, and I'm going to use them again. Junk Be Gone, great stuff. All right, want to welcome in the first round of panelists for today. We have Bob Hodge, Josh Ward, Jimmy Himes, and Chuck Cavaleros right down there. Thanks to all of you for being here on this April Sunday. UT had their second scrimmage of the spring yesterday. Last week, the Lions, the word out of there, nobody can see it, but for the few people who are in there that then whisper to other people, the Lions didn't look great last week. This week, and the offense had a better day than the defense. This week, defense looked a little better against the offense. Offense looked kind of sloppy. Those are the returns from yesterday. I'm not going to dig into what are your thoughts on yesterday's scrimmage that none of us were allowed to watch. Not going to do that. But I will ask you, there's now only one scrimmage left. You've got the orange and white game next week. From what you've heard 2 weeks into this spring practice, from what you've seen, what you heard, feeling better or worse about what this team is going to be in the fall? Or have you heard anything that's changed your mind at all? Anyone?
I'll go first, and I feel this much better. And it's really not from anything I've heard player-wise. A lot of it just came from things I've heard, a lot of it on the radio, about Jim Chaney talking. And he seems to be a refreshing breath of refreshing air or something like that. And just listening to him talk,
just the soothing, dulcet tones.
Sounds different than any of the coaches that you heard from last year, which you didn't hear from that many of them. He seems to be given free rein. Go out there, say whatever you feel like saying. And I think that might loosen things up over there at UT a little bit. So that makes me feel a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth. You could give a Chaney bump. If I wouldn't say I feel worse. I probably end up in the middle, but I think some of the things you feel better about Jim Chaney being there, and that leads to, I think, more confidence that just go down the list, Callaway, Jennings, Palmer, who had a touchdown catch in the scrimmage, Dominique Wood-Anderson, Ty Chandler, that Tennessee will be able to get them more involved on a more regular basis. There's an offensive bump. But then you have the line of scrimmage concerns that I think are still there. So I'm still somewhere probably right there in the middle of, I don't feel worse about Tennessee right now. Chaney gives you more confidence, I think, in what the coaching staff is doing right now.
Bump.
There you go.
Yeah, I
That's a
think
good way to put it.
Yeah, the Chaney bump. Okay.
Well, I gave him the Chaney bump when he was hired. So I don't really feel any different about this team at this point. I still think there are major issues on the defensive line where you lost all three of your starters. I think there's still considerable issues on the offensive line, and I don't think that'll be settled for a while. It's unlikely, but does Trey Smith play this fall? What about Darnell Wright? Is he good enough to come in and start? So I think some of the chemistry issues on the offensive line are going to be there when you start the season. And I haven't heard enough about other players' progress to feel better. I'm about the same as I was at the start of spring.
Chuck, better or worse?
It's just about the same, and just, a little bit more anticipation for the orange and white game and wanting to see how that goes and see if you see some playmakers.
Okay, we've got a segment later on. What do you want to see in the orange and white game?
Okay. But it's more like just wait and see. And I think we all do feel good about Jim Chaney. And you hear about a faster tempo. And that was one of the clips that was on TV the other day. Come on, let's pick it up. So, the Jim Chaney factor is good.
Yeah.
Can I go the other way on the fast tempo right quick? Is that what you really want when your defense is questionable?
Well, I'm not talking as far as in a game necessarily as a faster tempo in practice.
Okay,
More moving and less standing around.
Let me get more specific with this, all right? Let's look at the quarterback, Jarrett Garantano. There's no real competition. We know it's his team. The guy is on his third offensive system, his fourth offensive coordinator. That's not easy. He's been on the field for all of 2 weeks with Jim Chaney. That said, did you want to hear? We have not heard gushing. We have not heard raving. We have not heard Corners have been turned. The guy's dynamite. He's making plays. Again, early, but did you hope to have heard some of that? I think I did. Just a little. I expected a little bit of a let's talk up Jarrett, and I'm not hearing that from anyone. And I'm not just talking about the coaches, people who are over there watching it. I'm not hearing anyone gush over the difference last year, this year of Jarrett Garantano. Is that unfair of me?
Well, I'm not hearing it either. And the interesting thing was that if you remember last year at the Orange and White game, Garantano was MVP of the spring game, right? Well, the head coach didn't exactly shower him with praise because he didn't have that good of a camp leading up to it. And I wonder if there's a little bit of a, what's the old saying, paralysis by analysis with Chaney, that he's trying to pick up everything Chaney wants him to do. And so while you heard Garantano say that Chaney's offense has more answers for the quarterback, maybe Garantano's still trying to find those answers in life and when the bullets are flying. So I'm not real surprised at this point.
Yeah, I would have liked to have heard a little bit more positivity at this point.
Even
though it's probably unfair to expect that after 2 weeks, but I would have liked to have heard it.
We have heard from Garantano this spring, which is a difference from a year ago. And does that indicate that he's playing great? No, not necessarily, but it does indicate that the coaching staff has more trust, I would say, in Jarrett Garantano. So that's a positive sign from that leadership standpoint, because culture and all that stuff that the new coaching staff is trying to put in, that's at least a sign that they believe in what he's doing a little bit more. Or you could say, well, he's the quarterback. They know he's the guy. He has to talk, and they're making him do it now.
Yeah, and one comment a teammate made that was kind of surprising was that Garantano is more receptive to coaching, which was kind of interesting. So maybe he is getting more coaching, more to think about. Certainly hope he gets the ball out quicker, and the line gives him time to throw. So there are probably several parts to that, John, but that is an interesting.
Yeah, and for the record, I think everybody knows this, but he's been non-contact all spring. I mean, again, that makes sense when you don't really have a true backup, plus he's taken his fair share of hits in his career already. Bob,
I think it'll be more concerning if you're not hearing positives about the second week of August. Because if you're Jarrett Garantano, you're dropping back, you're looking down the field in practice. How many of those plays from those old playbooks are running through your mind that you've got to wash that out? So maybe you are hesitant, which makes you look worse. Like Chuck said, you hold on to the ball a split second. So I think give him the summer to sort of soak in all that stuff and see where he's at in the middle of August. Because right now, I just think it would be hard to you've had so many different systems and so many different coaches. You just got to put that out of your memory and start fresh. So give him a little bit more time.
All right. And as we go to break here, let's take a look. Yesterday's starting offensive line. These were the first 5 guys out there. Now, plenty of other guys played. Wanya Morris played. But those were your first 5 yesterday. I don't know how many people would have drawn it up that way pre-spring. So
not me.
And that's probably not how you're going to draw it up when you get to September either. But I thought it was an interesting line, so I thought I'd put it up there and let everybody see it. All right. When we come back, Jordan Bone sounds like a man who isn't just wanting to test the water. Sounds like a guy who's ready to go. What impact will that have on Tennessee? That's what we're going to be talking about the next couple of segments. Mike Strange, Mark Pancratz join us. Basketball is next on the Sports Source.